A 30-year-old aerospace engineer was a man who lived for his work. He stood in the center of a giant hangar, dwarfed by the massive rocket he had spent months building. As he checked the final calculations on his digital tablet, a look of immense pride filled his face. This rocket was the result of his mastery and his tireless work day and night. The hum of the machines around him sounded like a song celebrating his own success. As John examined the complex engines, he whispered to himself, "Without my intelligence and my skilled hands, this giant mass of iron would never leave the ground." He was completely confident in his own brilliance, seeing every screw and circuit as a piece of his own genius. Just then, a familiar figure appeared at the hangar door. It was Abraham, his 55-year-old former teacher, and a man who had guided John's path since he was a young student. Abraham's hair was gray, but the sparkle in his eyes was still full of youthful energy. When John saw his old teacher, he immediately ran to greet him and excitedly began to show off the rocket. "Look, teacher," John said, "I designed this marvel myself. It has the most powerful engines and the strongest body in the world." Abraham smiled warmly and looked at the rocket, choosing to listen quietly as John spoke. They walked right up to the machine, and Abraham placed his hand on the rocket's shiny silver surface. "It really is a magnificent achievement, John," he said in a soft, steady voice. "But tell me, son, where did the iron and silver that make up this body come from? Who is the true owner of the plastics protecting these circuits, or the fuel that will soon ignite the engines?" John looked puzzled and replied, "We dug them from the earth, teacher. We processed them in our factories." Abraham pointed toward the sky as he continued to speak. "John, we did not create any of these materials out of nothing. The iron, the silver, and even the oil that becomes plastic. These are all gifts that God provided for us. If He had not placed these treasures within the earth, even your most brilliant ideas would be trapped as mere drawings on paper. We are simply the ones who gather the treasures He already created." John fell into a deep silence. When he looked at the smooth surface of the rocket now, he no longer saw just his own accomplishment. He saw the miracle of the materials themselves. Abraham continued, "And is it just the materials? No. The intelligence you used to solve those complex equations, your steady hands, and the patience to finish this project, these, too, are gifts entrusted to you by the Creator." "A person is only a vessel, son," Abraham said, placing a comforting hand on John's shoulder. "True success is realizing that these immense talents and opportunities are given by God, and being grateful to Him at every step. The fire that will lift this rocket is not just chemistry. It follows the physical laws He set in motion. You are an explorer who has discovered those laws, not the one who wrote them." At that moment, John felt a great weight lift from his heart. The heavy burden of pride he had been carrying was replaced by a sense of deep gratitude. "I understand now, teacher," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "I was just the hand putting the pieces together. The true art and the provision belong to God. I am humbled that I forgot the true source of everything for so long." The next day was launch day. Everyone in the Mission Control Center waited with bated breath for the countdown. As John sat before the glowing screens, he closed his eyes for a moment and said a silent prayer. He thanked God from the bottom of his heart for the intelligence, the steady hands, and every atom that made the rocket possible. He knew now that his success was a beautiful favor bestowed upon him. The countdown hit 0, and the rocket soared toward the clouds with a thunderous roar, trailing bright flames. John smiled as he watched the rocket rise higher and higher on the monitors. He was no longer just an engineer. He was a man who had tasted the sweetness of gratitude. The trail of white smoke left behind in the blue sky looked like a giant thank you written across the heavens.